208, infancy or insanity. Just remember that the statute of limitations, if it's 3 or more years for a specific cause of action, it's extended for 3 years after disability ceases, but in no event more than 10 years after the cause accrues. The 10-year thing does not apply to a medical malpractice case where the disability is infancy. And this whole section does not apply to actions for penalty, forfeiture, or escape. I guess those are against the sheriff. 209, wartime. Between commencement of the war/occupation and termination of hostilities is not counted in the statute of limitations period. This applies to residents, non-residents, aliens at war, residents or sojourners in countries the U.S. or its allies is at war with. Does not apply to 625 banking law or against the superintendent of financial services. So if you're suing for something under the banking law there, then the statute of limitations does not hold. 210, death of claimant. Action may be commenced within 1 year after death. This is not a tolling because this is 1 year from death or the original period. Okay, so it's not a tolling. It's just, if necessary, they extend it for a year after death of claimant. Death of person liable. Now this is a tolling. 18 months after death, this is added on to the original period of limitation, unlike the one with the claimant. 211, 20 years statute of limitations. There is 5 things here. 1, bond. The key here is that the bond is only secured by the issuer's pledge. So there's a bond here, and then there's going to be a bond with a different time rule. And this one, the 20-year one, is when it's like you hear those advertisements, oh, the state or whatever is offering bonds and there's an obligation to pay. Okay? And that does not apply here. There is no statute of limitations on those as far as I know. So if it's a state or federal government bonds, doesn't apply. It's only a bond secured by the issuer's pledge. 2, by the state for real property. 3, by grantee of state for real property. 4, money judgment. 5, support, alimony, or maintenance. And this is calculated from the default in payment. Whether or not there's a money judgment been issued, that's when it's calculated from, a default in payment. 10-year statute of limitations. There are 6 here. So 5 for the 20 years, 6 for the 10-year that I found so far. 1, recover real property by anyone but the state. 2, annulment of letters patent / grant of real property by a state. 3, redeem from a mortgage. 4, recover under an affidavit for support of an alien. 5, by a victim of labor or sex trafficking, SSL 384-BB. And this one is actually in 213-B. This is 6, by a victim of defendant convicted of 632-A sub E executive law. An offense specified there. That's 10 years. 7 years, statute of limitations, is by a crime victim. In this case, a conviction is required to activate the 7-year statute of limitations. So if there's an assault but no conviction, that's got to be under the assault and battery 1-year statute of limitations. If there is a conviction, you get 7 years to sue the person. So this is 213, 6-year statute of limitations. 1, catch-all, when there's no statute specified, it's 6 years. 2, on a contract. The exceptions here are 213-A, UCC Article 2, and 36-B of the General Business Law. 3, sealed instrument. 4, bond secured by mortgage on real property. So this is the difference between the 20-year bond and the 6-year bond. This is a bond secured by a mortgage on real property. 5, action by state for spoliation of public property computed from the time of discovery by the state. 6, mistake. 7, corporation versus director for fraud. 8, fraud, 2 years from the discovery of the fraud. So I'm gonna like rapid fire those ones to repeat them. So 211, 20 years. 1, bond. 2, state for real property. 3, grantee of state for real property. 4, on a money judgment. 5, support alimony or maintenance calculated from a default in payment. 212, 10-year statute of limitation. 1, recover real property. 2, annulment of letters patent. 3, redeem from a mortgage. 4, recover under an affidavit for support of an alien. 5, victim of labor or sex trafficking. 6, victim of convicted. 632, executive law. 7 years is for a crime victim other than a sex crime. It's calculated from the date of offense, but if there's a conviction, anything but a sex crime gets 1 year additional after the conviction to sue. Sex crime gets 5 years after the conviction. 213, 6-year statute of limitation. 1, none provided, catch-all. 2, on a contract. 3, sealed instrument. 4, bond secured by mortgage. 5, action by state for spoliation of public property. 6, mistake. 7, corporation versus director for fraud. 8, fraud. 2 year, or that's 2 years from discovery. So this is 213-C, and in this one, this is an important distinction because no conviction is required to activate the 5-year statute of limitation. So this is for a rape, a criminal sex act, course of sexual conduct against a child, and aggravated sexual abuse, all in the first degree. You get 5 years statute of limitation, and it only is against the person that could be convicted of the offense. So either a co-defendant or the defendant himself, not like the university or the restaurant that you worked in. You can't go back 5 years after the fact and sue the restaurant or the university and say, you should have like protected me better. You would have had to do that within whatever statute of limitations it says in the regular law. 4 years statute of limitations. Residential rent overcharge within 4 years of the first overcharge alleged. 214, 3-year statute of limitations. 1, against sheriff for non-payment of money collected on an execution. 2, a penalty created by statute. 3, recover a chattel. 4, injury to property. 5, personal injury. 6, malpractice other than medical, dental, or podiatric, so like legal malpractice. 7, annul a marriage on the ground of fraud. 8, superfund site measured from the date the site was designated as a superfund site or the discovery, I guess, of the injury. And a note here on the injury to property and personal injury, exposure causing injury to person or property is calculated from discovery of the injury. If the cause is discovered within 5 years, the plaintiff can sue within 1 year. So medical, dental, and podiatric malpractice is 2 years, 6 months statute of limitation. 214-A. 214-C, certain actions to be commenced within 3 years of discovery of injury does not apply to medical or dental malpractice. Podiatric's not in that one, but whatever. Agent Orange is a 2-year statute of limitation. So then 214-D, I don't know if they would ask this, but it's got a lot of information here and it's got a couple of time rules. So this is about like if you're suing like a licensed architect or a surveyor or something, and it's been more than 10 years since that person designed the building or whatever. If it's been more than 10 years, upon the filing of you have to file a notice of claim prior to suing, 90 days prior to suing, give written notice of the claim to the architect. Upon filing notice of claim, county clerk shall collect a fee and assign an index number, and you have to file the notice of claim that you served with the affidavit of service within 30 days of actually serving it. Then when you file it, you pay the fee, you get an index number. A note here says, no fees for cross-claim or third-party claim are allowed under this section. The plaintiff/claimant shall have the right to like EBTs and discovery. Architect must comply. Architect may make 3211 or 3212 motion, which shall be granted unless plaintiff proves or demonstrates that there was negligence, and it was negligence caused by the architect or whatever, and that was the cause of the injury or wrongful death. And this motion shall be granted if he doesn't prove those things, and the court shall grant a preference. There's statutory preference in hearing of those motions. This section is like an exception to the regular statute of limitations because they're talking about a 10-year thing here. And normally injury or wrongful death has a 3-year statute of limitations. Service of the notice tolls the statute of limitations and also the 120-day service period. This is, like I said, this has got a lot of information in it. I didn't go over it all, but I don't know if they'll get into that. And if they do, they're probably going to ask something about the 90-day rule or the 30 days, or you're going to have to know about the 10 years.